reps that have to book. We have a bunch of people that are still yet to book, but we have 10 rooms left. After that, you pay full price. Okay, meaning like when it was either, I think Aaron got it for us. I'm not sure who got it for us, but usually to stay at Planet Hollywood, it's like $230 to $300 a night. Some of the rooms we have on there are like 129. Okay, so you can. So most people, if you're like, how do I get? What days do I fly in? Whatever. You can fly in whenever you want, but the training is Saturday. Okay. A lot of people will be flying in Friday morning and leaving like Sunday midday. You know what I mean? A lot of people. I'm going in early. I'm playing golf. I'm going to throw some dice, whatever. Okay. You don't have to do any of that. Some people want to come in early and see shows, do the Sphere. We're going to plan something really cool for, Saturday night. So definitely fly in Friday and do not leave Saturday. Okay. The training is all day Saturday. We've got 3 carrier reps going to be there. We've got F&G. Oh my God, who else are we going to have there? Rachel.
Corbridge.
Corbridge is going to be there. And there's somebody else.
No, those 3.
Anyways, I know there's 3. Bruce from Foresters. Bruce from Foresters is going to be there. So we're going to have 3 carrier reps there. And David Helgeson is going to be speaking there a bunch. I'm going to be talking, Nick's going to be talking, Hutch, and we're going to have some new people that are doing really well coming up there too. So let me just give you the exact dates. Hold on. Okay, pin to the Telegram.
It's May 3rd. May 3rd is the event date.
Okay, May 3rd. The link we are going to post right after. Okay, come, you guys. You need to come to that. We're gonna have a blast. We're gonna do dinner. We're gonna have a blast, and just it's where like of every. What I love about the Alliance events is there's a lot of belief and you get to see a lot of people winning. I know when we first went to our first Alliance event, there was just a ton of people issue paying this, doing this, and we still didn't really know what we were doing, and there was some good nuts and bolts stuff, but it was a lot of stories, and that all we're going to, there's not going to be any of the story. It's mainly going to be entirely designed for nuts and bolts. So like, we're going to give you a little bit of stuff on building the why tonight, on whether you're doing it virtually, in person, a lot of it for virtually, but you're going to get like an hour and a half, 2 hour training on that segment. There's going to be a train, like David's going to do exactly what he does on the ethos leads. For those of you guys who don't know, David Helgeson's issue paid like $90,000 this year already, and it's like middle of March. So he's crushing it he's literally destroying it on the ethos lead. So if that's the avenue you're going, like, go, you know what I mean? It might be $300 for a round trip ticket. It's $50 for the event ticket. You stay for 2 nights. There's whatever. It's a $70 a month policy is how I look at it. And if you learn some skills there that help you make an extra sale, 2-3 sales a week, it makes all the difference in the world. So those are the 2 upcoming events. We got Stage to Success. That's going to be 2 weeks in Burlington. And then the big one, if you can only make, like I said, you're not going to want to miss the Vegas one. All right. I mean, obviously you want to go to all the events, but I'm just telling you, you are definitely not going to want to miss the Vegas one. So anything I'm missing on that, Rachel?
No, we have just posted the link, so you guys can go ahead and click the link in the Telegram group, and that has our rooms and our ticket. So again, ticket is $50. The room block is available for you, and the event itself is Saturday, May 3rd. So we're, about 5 weeks away, a little more than 5 weeks away. So perfect time to get your flights right now. I know Southwest is having really good sales. Just get it done, you guys. It's that event of all the events that we go to has the most nuts and bolts training. And you're just learning from our team exactly how we do it, and only from people who are winning. So it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a smaller group, so you're gonna really, if there's someone that you admire in this business and want to spend more time around, you can pick their brain. I remember my first Legacy Life event that I went to was in Dallas, and I got to actually have dinner with Mark Hutchinson, and I purposely planted myself right next to him because I had a list of 15 or 20 questions that I needed answered. And it was the perfect time to, not bother him and answer all the questions. So get there. It's going to be incredible. We're excited. But as far as tonight goes, it's just been kind of heavy on my heart to to share it with you guys. I think over the last, really over the last year since I've had a kid, just the importance of our business, really now that I understand, oh my goodness, like seeing how important it is to protect the people that you love the most, right? But not only that, I've had a lot of sales. I've had a lot of sales over the years that I've lost. And they call me the the green eyed assassin and stuff, and that's cool, that's awesome. But when I would miss sales, it's just like, why am I missing those? And why am I letting these people, why am I buying their excuses? And especially over the last few weeks, I've just had a few that I've just kind of thrown my hands up in the air of like, why do I feel like I need to be so nice to these people? Like when you talk to Hutch and you hear about some of the things that he says to people, like I've asked him, I can't even tell you how many times, like, wait, are you actually saying that to them, or are you just telling me that that's what you're thinking? And he's like, no, I'm actually saying that to them. And the thing about it is that you might be the last person, especially if they're an older person, you guys might be the last person that they talk to about this. And when I was at church on Sunday, they told me the number one thing that people don't want to talk to about 44% is personal finances. Number two at 39% is their own death. That's a huge number. 39% don't want to talk about their own death. I'm sure it's more than that, but um it's a very uncomfortable topic. And the reason that we make money here is because yes, there's always going to be slam dunk sales. Always. There's always just going to be people that were waiting for you, right? But 6 out of every 10 that you sit with, you have to get them into an emotional state of just, so out of the 10, two are going to be slam dunks, two nobody could sell, right? I mean, you're going to try your hardest with them, but those six in the middle is really where your skills come into play. And I just, over the last few months, I've been feeling less and less afraid. And by afraid, I mean like of being so nice to these people. Like I just don't want to be the person that's so nice to them that they don't buy insurance, that I buy their excuses because they just lost their job, or because some big ones that have really come to mind. There's two. Um, Let me take a sip to quench my thirst. So the first one is people who they don't really have a why. So like maybe they don't have kids. Maybe they're really not that close to their siblings, or you're just kind of pulling teeth when you're building that why with them. And it's like crickets of just like, okay, so why did you fill this out? And at the end of the day, they filled it out for a reason. No matter what, if you're doing virtual or if you're doing in person, they filled it out. You're not bothering them. They bothered you by filling that out. Because guess what? Now it's your job to help them see why they actually need it. And one of the hardest ones for me over the last few years have been the people who don't really have someone. And I ran into a situation recently where, and it was a personal situation, where the person, she was never married, she didn't have kids, she really had nobody close in kin. I mean, she had multiple brothers and sisters, but she did well financially. She had a really incredible career, and um, she had a good amount of money saved up. So she was like the perfect candidate not to have these people that we sit with. I don't know if you guys have run into them like I have, but that it just feels like it's harder to sell them on why they need it and get them into an emotional state of really why they need it. And what I watched progress over the last few weeks was, so this person, she actually did have life insurance, but um the amount that goes into when somebody dies is insane. Like is insane. And I know everyone on this call has been touched by death somehow, but if you have not recently been touched by death, you need to get some stories under your belt to really be able to get people into an emotional state. And the reason that I'm saying that is because I feel so fired up now on not buying these people's excuses. Like I'm not going to tiptoe around you just so that you don't like me, or that you don't hang up on me, or I don't make you feel uncomfortable. That's not my job. My job is literally to help you see that this is going to be the best thing that we could do for your family, whoever that family is. So in this specific situation, um, She had a house, she had a car, she had a pension plan, she had everything that people could think. But guess what? She passed away in January, and we're 2 months later and we are still knee deep in all of her stuff. We had to go through everything in her house. We had to figure out all of her death stuff. She had started a trust, but she never submitted it to an attorney. She never submitted her will to the attorney. So everything went to probate. And it's just such an absolute nightmare of thank gosh she had siblings who were willing. Each one of them every weekend has been over at her house. They got a dumpster. She was in the middle of doing a renovation. Like, I just cannot explain to you. The next time I sit with someone who doesn't really have a good why, it's like, okay, so tell me who is going to be responsible, because somebody's responsible for you. I'm sorry, it's not the state. The state's not going to come and clean up your body. They're not going to clean your house. They're not going to sell your belongings on Facebook. They're not going to transport your body. They're not going to plan a service or a funeral for you, anything like that. So who is that person for you? And again, do it in like a nice tone, right? With a smile on your face, not as intense as I am, but in my mind, I'm intense. Like, it is game on. And like, who is that person for you? And keep pushing them, because if you don't push them, the same thing is just going to happen to them, where it's an absolute it's a mess when somebody passes away, and especially if it's unexpected, where they're 70 years old and pass away of a sudden heart attack, and they don't have their affairs in order. Like, they're not ready to pass. It's going to be a little different than someone who's 89 years old and has had COPD for 15 years. But things happen all the time. So that's example one of someone who doesn't really have a beneficiary, or who doesn't really have a clear beneficiary. There is still somebody who has to take care of them. And we need to get to the bottom of who that person is, or who those people are, and still setting those people up, because how much time are they going to have to take off work? Are they going to have to travel? What all are they going to be expected to do? Do you have a house? Do you have any properties? Do you have a will set up that has been notarized by an attorney so things don't go to probate? And then the other one that I feel like has been hard for me over the years is people who, they are affluent and they're well off, and they're like, well, I've got rental properties, and I've got this and I've got that, and I just don't really see the need for it. And it's like, okay, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't see the need for it. So yes, you are asset rich. Maybe they're an asset rich person, or maybe they're not even asset rich. Maybe they just have a few rental properties and they are going to leave it to their kids. Okay, well, first of all, do you have a will and a trust set up? Like, do we know that these are not going to probate for sure, no matter what? And then two, okay, so even if they're not going to probate, do you know anything about homes? I mean, we're going to have to probably paint, we're going to have to recarpet, we're going to have to, maybe there's not a renter in it, and it's been vacant for a period of time. Like, you don't just sell a home like that. It takes a couple of months to, hang on. It takes a couple of months, animals. It takes a couple of months to get a home ready. Or if they're not ready to sell, okay, guess what? And they've got renters in it, then they're going to have to pay for the mortgage. And who's going to come up with the mortgage? A mortgage in America, I mean, we could be talking anywhere from $900 to a couple $1,000s a month. Even if that person has kids who are well off, do they have a couple $1,000s for how long to pay that mortgage until all their stuff goes through probate, all of that kind of stuff? I hope that this is making sense to you guys. I don't know if it is or not, but I've just felt so, I'm just not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid to say things, and especially things that I'm thinking, as long as I say it with a nice tone, or if I'm in person with them, with a smile on my face of just like, let's like, help me understand here what you're actually saying. Because yeah, I see you're doing well, or I see you don't really have a family, or I see things are really hard for you right now. Like, you've lost your job and the economy is so tough. Like, we can barely afford eggs. We can barely afford, the roof over our head. Like, that's the situation a lot of our clients are in as well. And you don't think, so help me understand, like, you're so financially tight right now that nothing else, like, we can't find room in the budget at all for when you were to pass away. Like, who's gonna take care of this, right? And you really have to look look them in the eye and be like, talk to me a little bit more about your budget then. Because I get you're on a fixed income. I totally get that. And I feel you with the groceries. Like I feel you with the economy craziness. Um, but do you have Netflix? Do you go to Chick-fil-A? Because those things are not going to protect your family. Like you making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich versus spending $30 at Chick-fil-A is going to make or break a lot of families. And I know that that sounds a little extreme, but with the how much inflation has gone up with cremation, with funeral, with all of the things, people just don't like the beneficiaries don't have extra money laying around to take care of their loved ones. So it's not just the loved ones who are tight financially. It's the beneficiaries and the people who are going to be responsible for them. So it's really getting these people into a state where you just have to keep pushing them. And I don't want you to just push them one level deep. I want you to push them multiple levels deep where they're so uncomfortable that they have to get it done today. And you're just unapologetically getting them to that place because if you don't, you didn't do your job. You didn't do your job and you just wasted money on a lead. And that's just my personal opinion. You might not think that, but that's how I feel now of just like, you know what, I'm going to lay it all on the table for them. And if they don't like what I have to say, well, then at least I still said it. And at least I stood up for their family because I don't want people to be in the position where, they can't grieve their parent and they're having to put the funeral on a credit card. Okay. That's 10 times worse than the parent not having beer, not having, a 30 pack and going to Chick-fil-A, $60 a month right there. So it's really just helping people get to a point where they realize like their loved ones really need them to have something set up. And if they don't, how screwed are they going to be? And whether they're rich or they're poor, I mean, it's on both ends. Like even rich people who have kids who are well off, again, we're talking way more money that they're going to need to be able to take care of properties and all that kind of stuff. So, Mike, what else would you add on what I've talked about so far?
Yeah, if you're talking, I have a couple good things on that. So if you're talking about people that have like rental properties, I just say, okay, sweet. So like one of my biggest premiums is on a lady that I got in November, Renee Brown, and her only income, she owns a food truck and then she also has 4 rental properties. And I just said, okay, sweet. So you have this, you're going to leave that to your husband. She wants to make sure her husband's protected. And I just said, are all the rental properties paid off? She goes, well, if something happens to be, he's going to get this amount in income. I said, are all the rental properties paid off? She makes a certain amount for the food truck. She makes the food truck go into that. She said, no. And I said, well, look, so we were able to get enough to pay up. That's another good one. You just ask them like, hey, is all that paid off? Okay, well, that's debt. Okay, are they going to want to do, if someone has rental properties, just because you keep up on it, what makes you think that your kids want to deal with having renters? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then also, here's another good one. If they're like, well, I'm just leaving, like you're going to deal with this on a lot of ethos leads. Well, especially the older people that they're wanting 100, 200, 300,000 and they're 76 and they do have money and they really don't need it, but they're going to leave, like Rachel said, they're going to leave assets to their kids, but how long people don't really know how long some of those things can take. So I share a story. This is the exact story that I share with someone when I know I'm going to have to talk them down from 200,000 to 30,000 of final expense. Okay. And I know they can afford it because they got millions and like clearly they've done well, they've whatever, but they don't like the fact of having a 30,000 insurance policy. They wanted 200, right. But they have this, or they have a health condition that is only going to get them that. So I say, look, I can appreciate you wanting to get 200,000. Here's the reality of the situation. You've got assets you're going to leave to your kids. Your kids are going to be fine in the long term, for sure. Okay. Have you already done your will, trust, estate? No. Okay. Well, in the state of Ohio, this is what ended up happening with my wife's dad. In his dying moments, we had to have an attorney come to the house. It was $5,000 to have him sign a bunch of stuff so that in the state of Ohio, just because you have a will just states who it's going to. The trust solidifies it so it doesn't go through probate. Anything over $35,000 would have gone to probate had we not done that. Okay, so we need to look at what that is in your state. Okay, it's different amounts for each state. So if they have a $200,000 house or $300,000 house and don't have any of that, that's not going to their kids right away. That's going to go through probate. Okay, meaning the kids are not going to get that money.
Someone's asking what probate is. Can you explain what probate is really quick?
Like it gets just tied up in the courts, and they want to make so if there's a will, and long story short, and I'm not an expert on it, you can talk to Aaron, and you should go to some of the Alliance will trust. That stuff's very interesting. But basically, let's say there's a will, okay, and there's some long lost sister in Europe. That what they don't just automatically hand it over to them. It goes through probate, and the courts look at everything to make sure that it's going to who it's supposed to go. But there's all kinds of fees, and it takes time. And there will be people's assets that get held out for 2 years, literally two years.
Right.
And especially if there's siblings fighting over, I mean, it can be a disaster. And I'll just explain. Okay, so let me go back to that. Go do some research on probate. Just go YouTube some videos on like what probate is, and what your state, like what the laws are for like trusts and states. But so here's what I'll say. I'll say, well, I can appreciate that. Look, we didn't have any life insurance given to us. My wife's dad, he wanted a funeral. We had to do cremation. Let me tell you why. Okay. That was going to be like 15 grand. Okay. And we didn't have the money. I just started insurance. Okay. So luckily I was starting to make good money, and my wife wasn't working. She was able to go, sell a bunch of stuff at his house. Now there was 4 other sisters involved that they split the money from. And so they had the house that he had. There was no life insurance money. So the only assets we were getting, there was no liquid cash. It was just homes. So the first house did not sell for 9 months. Okay, this is in Cleveland, Ohio. We live in Georgia. So people are like, oh, they're going to get rental income. You think we want to deal with tenants from Georgia on people like, oh, yeah, this broke today. So we didn't want to deal with any of that. And if there's 3 other sisters involved, well, what if they don't want to have renters? What if they want to sell the house? There's all kinds of other things that meaning they might not get the money right away. So anyways, so the first house sold 9 months later, and then split that. And then the second one sold like 4 months after that. So the second one was 13 months. Well, guess who had to pay the mortgage? Number one, we had to come up with money for the funeral. We had to come up with money for the attorney. We had to fix a bunch of crap. Number one, we had to pay people to move all the crap out of the house. We had to fix the septic system. I had to pay people to mow the lawns, both properties, every week, because it grows like Cleveland, Ohio. It rains every effing day. Okay, the grass grows like it'll be like in a week. It's like this. You know what I mean? So we have realtors going there. So and I picked up 2 extra mortgage payments. Now, luckily, my wife was able to like sell his tractor and his tools, and she was like basically being a hustler on Facebook Marketplace. But we didn't have kids at the time. She could do that. And they basically just moved to Ohio, and I have a business where I was running leads in Ohio while she was doing that. Well, not everybody can do that. Not every person can take 3 months off work or 4 months off work and sell a bunch of crap on Facebook Marketplace and deal with people.
Everyone can do that.
Or would they want to do that? So if we didn't have that, we'd have been in the hole really, really big, because there's the funeral, and then there's attorneys, and then there's paying people to move stuff out. There's the septic tank, which was like $7 grand. We had to pay his property taxes, which was another $5 or $7 grand on both houses, and pay a mortgage $900 a month on this one and $1,300 a month on this one until they sold. So I remember thinking, so when I'm telling this to a client, I say this exact story. So I remember thinking, man, yes, what 100,000, 200,000, if we would have even got 20 grand or 30 grand,
yeah,
it could have pretty much almost covered all of that. So look, John, I know you're going to leave assets to your kids, but there's no what if you die in a time when it's like right now and houses aren't selling? They might not get that as assets for a long time, and your house isn't paid off. Who's going to make the mortgage payments? Your daughter? Does she want to do that? Or what if she doesn't want to do that? So she's like, I'll just sell it. And she's going to get way less than what she could get it for because she just doesn't want to deal with it. Where if you get something that can pay the mortgage for the next 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 months, pays your funeral, the funeral home, they want their money up front. They're not going to leave your body on ice for 7 months. They want their money up front. Boom, there's 15 grand. Now you've got mortgage payments. Here's this. So I know you want 100,000. I know you want 200,000, but I'm telling you, your kids will be glad with 30,000. That's going to make a huge impact because they are going to have to pay for these. And by them having that extra money to pay for the mortgages, pay for this, pay for that, there's a reason they call it funeral and final expenses. It's not just the funeral. There's other things that come with it. Rachel, you know that.
Right.
So that's a good story that I tell when people give me bullshit on the phone. Well, my kid, I'm gonna leave. I'm already a millionaire. I got 1.2 million. Yeah. How do you know when that's gonna get to them? You know what I mean? It could be months. And luckily, we were in a situation where my wife's a hustler and was selling all kinds of crap. But now she wouldn't be able to do that. We've got a 3-year-old. We couldn't do that. That was before we had kids. So, anyways.
Yeah. No, that's great. We've done tons of videos of building the why, guys. So I know that this wasn't as in depth with, like a general building the why, but these are two specific situations I struggled with over the really three people that were had just lost their job and they were broke, people that were better off that had rental properties, and people that didn't really have somebody in mind to leave it to, and they didn't really have great relationships. Those were just the three that I kind of struggled with the most as far as really how to build the why with them. And I just got to the point where I'm like, who cares? Just keep just keep trying until you get something. And this year I'm so much less afraid, and I just start sharing stories that I've learned from other people, and using Mike's story, using stories to sell it where they're getting it, and I'm making crazy premium, because I'm just like, you know what, if they don't like me, I don't care, but at least I shared with them what it did for other people, or what it could have done for other people. And so I just kind of wanted to go over that with you for a little bit tonight. Mike, is there anything
Yeah,
else?
I want to add a couple things else. I mean,
Yeah.
I could do a segment one time on Rachel where she's the client and Raymundo, and I know their situation, and I could ask the questions, but I wouldn't I'm not going to do that now because it'd be really, really good. But we're going to do that at some point, okay? And then she'd probably be crying by the time I got done with it. I could do a really good segment on building the why. But what I want to, damn it, where was I going with this? The situation, okay? These people on the phone give you these bullshit answers, and you
Yes.
need to challenge people on them. They're going, well, I want 500,000. Why? You know what I mean? So when I get through the original, if I'm trying to pull the why out of somebody, and let's say I go through hey, Rachel, it's Mike with Legacy Life. I'm just getting back to you about an insurance application you started with one of our partners, Ethos, and you didn't end up completing it. So I get through the original part. She tells me what she was looking for. Wow, I was looking for 500,000. Hey, Rachel, what had you set on the 500,000 with Ethos? Is that what your financial advisor told you need, or is it like, hey, you have a debt on your house that's worth about that? Is it like, hey, you make a certain amount per year and you want to make sure your kids or your spouse, what had you set on the 500,000? And then they're going to answer, and then you go from there. And then you ask these little questions that lead you to where you want to go. That's just like a generic amount. You know what I mean? And you got to be able to ask questions that lead you to where you want to go, and not be like, because I don't say stuff like this on the phone. I'll say, John, I could give you a quote for 500,000, but I want to do the right thing because odds are, if something really did, and after I go through their whole, and I've built some rapport and I've built some trust, I'm like, I share another story. I share the one that I shared the other night of the lady who almost canceled her policy and her husband died of COVID, and I got her to keep her policy. She was this current client lead, and I was trying to replace her policy. His rate ended up being, I didn't know about Transamerica. I probably would have done it with Transamerica, but I couldn't replace. He got year term, full medical, and She was like, I really don't even need this. Like my husband does well. He makes 230 a year or whatever. She has 680,000. I told you guys this story the other night, and her husband died like 3 months later. She called me crying and like thanking me because she got $1 million payout from Foresters. She goes, you know what's crazy? She said, Mike, I should have took out. I would have been the dumbest person on the planet to cancel it, but she goes, I should have taken out more because after I paid off the mortgage, which was 680, then I ended up paying the kids' school tuition. They both kids go to private schools. And then she goes, I paid off both cars. They had 170,000. She had an Escalade and he had something else. She goes, I only have like 190,000 left out of 1 million. And she was used to 230,000 a year coming in from her husband. So when people are like set on 1 million, it's like, why 1 million? You need to be able to walk people. Well, you have this debt. Are the cars paid off? Okay. What does the business earn before taxes? I'm asking you that, Rachel, not because I care. Number one, the insurance company is going to ask. And number two, when we look at the whole situation, a lot of people are looking for not just to protect the mortgage, but they're looking for income replacement. So what does that mean? Let's say you make 100 grand a year, you make 60 grand a year, you make 300,000 a year. How many years of income do we want you to have if something happens to Raimundo? If Raimundo makes 400,000 a year and you're only looking for a $700,000 policy, yet you owe 500,000 a mortgage, that leaves you 200,000. You're accustomed to that money coming in. You're going to be out of money in 8 months. And then how long is it going to take you to find? And you either have to dramatically lower your expectation of living, and your lifestyle is not going to be nearly the same. No more buying Green Valley water, buying those little cheap plastic water. I'm just kidding. No, I would definitely say that. But you're walking people through because they just give you this generic amount. Like, challenge them on that. Why do you want 1 million? How do you know you don't need? How do you know you need that much? How do you know you don't need a lot more than that?
Yep. Yep. And just like what Mike was saying, guys, the other one is people that they want this amount, but they can only qualify for this amount because of their health conditions, their age, all that kind of stuff. And really, if you guys, I was talking to a new agent today, just telling her, okay, we might not be able to cover the entire mortgage, but let's cover payments of the mortgage, a mortgage payment plan where at least we're covering 2 years of the mortgage, exactly what Mike was saying earlier, with rental properties, stuff like that. So, yeah, I couldn't agree more. If I can tell you anything, I just wish.
Last thing, Rachel, here's how I do that. I don't mean to cut you off. I say something really good on that. Last thing. If I can't cover the whole mortgage, I say, Rachel, what's your biggest debt? My mortgage. What's your mortgage payment? $2,300 a month. And I'm getting a $40,000 policy. I'm like, I don't know about you. I don't get excited to pay my mortgage. Like, it's my biggest payment every single month. But let's say we got 100,000. Like, all you can afford is 100,000, and you divide that in months. So now they have 46 months of payments. So how cool? Look, if something happens to you, the debt's going to be there either way. But how cool would it be to not have a mortgage payment to year 2034? Maybe her loan she's not supposed to pay it off till 2045. But that's a great thing to say is how cool would it be to, if something were to happen to your husband, yes, you would have to figure it out and there'd be all that, but at least the biggest debt that could be that money, you could put that directly to the mortgage and you don't have to worry about a mortgage payment to year 2034, 9 years. They're thinking, oh man, I didn't have to worry about a mortgage payment for that. That's a lot better than saying, oh, well, you can only get 40,000 because you have COPD.
Right.
It's all the way you explain it. So sorry.
Yep. No, I'm with Mike 100%. Again, I think I'm just tired of like losing sales by tiptoeing. And then the other thing was I had two clients back to back. Mike is my witness. The first one, she was 45 years old. Her husband passed away. She got 3.7 million. The second one, she was 41 years old. Her husband passed away and she got how much did she get, Mike? I think it was 1.3 million. And with both of them, I mean, it put them in such a good, just being able to walk them from the moment their husband died to, leading them over to Burlington Alliance Capital Management to, helping them with annuities, with safe money stuff, with setting up huge life insurance policies for themselves and for their kids. I'm just like, I don't want to tiptoe. I don't want to tiptoe anymore. Like there's so many stories that you can use to sell these people, and it's just finding those stories and believing in yourself that you're the right person and you're the right agent. It's not about how much you know. It's about how much you care. And every time you sit with someone, you just need to be thinking they are so lucky that I'm their agent. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I'm truthfully, I'm saying that because they are so lucky, because you're the type of person that cares. You're the type of person that's going to go the extra mile for them. You're the type of person that's going to answer their call, and you're the type of person that's going to text them back. And when their husband or their wife passes away, you're going to be there for them. And that's the kind of agents that we're building on this team. And so I'm just so excited about that. I'm so proud to be part of it. I don't know if you guys saw on the Telegram group last thing, and then we'll let you guys go, but I send Christmas cards to my clients, and I hadn't seen a client I had talked to her. I talked to her, every 6 months, but I hadn't been to her house in about 2 or 3 years. And I sent her a Christmas card in December, and her husband passed away in the end of February. And so I went to her house in March to help her do the claims. She can't do anything on her phone. So I went to her house to help her start the claims, and she had my Christmas card framed on her mantle. And she told me that the guy had Alzheimer's. And so for the last 3 months, every day he would see the Christmas card, and it was me, my husband, and my baby. And he'd say, who's that beautiful baby? And every day they would talk about it. And she was just crying. Like, I can't tell you for how long she went over and over and over obsessing about that I sent her a Christmas card and how much it meant to her. And again, that it was framed, and it's just like going the extra mile for your clients. They are just so lucky that you're their agent. And, yeah, don't be afraid, guys. Get some good stories and just push these people. The more uncomfortable you are, the more uncomfortable they are, and the more money you're going to make. So just remember that. Please, please, please get your hotels, get your tickets booked for Vegas. Again, that's in about 5 weeks. Now is the perfect time to get all of that booked before we sell out, before we do all that kind of stuff. So get everything booked. If you guys got questions or need help with anything, reach out to us. But we love you. We thank you. Next week we're gonna have some incredible content. We're gonna have agents that are absolutely killing it get on here teaching you guys their exact how-tos. And all of them have done it in less than a year. So next week we've got Janet Brush and Jason Bradshaw. So it's gonna be a rock solid talk next Monday at 8 o'clock Central Time. But that's it for tonight. We love you guys. Have a great one.
See you guys.
Bye bye.